Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel, and this week we are talking about how our culture is actually in the process of destroying heroes and why that is the last thing that we need, especially right now. Last month, I made a whole video about heroes, heroism, and why Megan Rapinoe,
what do you have to say? I'm not going to the fucking White House.
Does not qualify, despite the fact her being baptized as a hero by the Rolling Stone and other publications. Well, a few weeks after I uploaded that video, the San Diego Comic-Con, the largest comic book convention in the world, held its annual powwow, and Marvel Studios was there to drop the titles of all the movies and shows that are going to be part of its Phase 4, now that Homecoming and Endgame have already been released. And one of the titles that was released was Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, what was even more surprising than the fact that Marvel is actually making another Thor movie was the fact that Chris Hemsworth was no longer going to be playing the God of Thunder. Instead, the role and the hammer were passed on to Natalie Portman. And yes, it was literally passed on to her. The woke rejoiced at this news and viciously dissected anyone who brought up little inconvenient facts like plot holes, or who even had the gall to refer to Portman as female Thor, because apparently referring to her as female Thor, even if just to separate and differentiate her from male Thor, which came before her, is now somehow sexist. Apparently. This flipping around of sexes and or genders has actually become quite a trend. We've known for a while that the as of yet untitled Bond 25 movie was going to be Daniel Craig's last outing in the role, and there's been speculation that maybe the studios were going to get Henry Cavill. Okay. Or maybe Idris Elba. Hell yes! To replace him. But last month it was announced that Lashana Lynch was actually going to be the new 007. Yeah. In 2017, Doctor Who, the more I think of it is actually the British conglomeration of Superman, Batman, and Green Lantern, regenerated from Peter Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker. And these are just two of the most recent prominent examples. We've had Muslim Little Johns, female Dr. Watsons, even a female Hamlet. I have no idea how they pulled that one off. And changing the sex and or gender of a character isn't the only trick that they've got. Back in 2012, when DC rebooted their universe again, it was announced that the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, who had actually been married with a wife and kids in the past, was now going to be portrayed as an openly proud gay man. Now a question might be, why do we need these changes? Diversity! Writing in 2017 in W Magazine, Horacio Silva out and out said that it hardly seemed fair that no woman had actually played Bond in the franchise, saying that women could do karate, kick butt, drink, and sleep around just as good as a man. Yay? I guess? Jezebel got on this particular bandwagon, celebrating the arrival of woke Bond, the Bond that can check off the intersectional boxes of black and female and thereby deliver a punch to the patriarchy, which apparently now is a bigger global threat than Spectre. And why do we need this diversity? Because little girls are being deprived of strong, empowered role models. After it was announced that Jodie Whittaker was going to become the 13th Doctor, Rachel Leishman, writing in Fansided, wrote, quote-unquote, "Little girls are crying because they realize that they too can be the Doctor, and not just be a regulated side companion." Even though apparently one of the companions, Clara Oswald, was revealed to have actually saved the Doctor multiple times because she somehow slipped into his time stream. Look, I'm not a Whovian. I don't know how it works. I'm just repeating to you guys what I read on the Doctor Who fan wiki. And when Spencer George wrote her review of 2016's Ghostbusters reboot sequel disaster, she started the review with a lament, saying, quote, "Growing up, I always wanted to believe that I could be the powerful woman who didn't need a man or a traditionally accepted career to be successful or important. I wanted to be different so badly, to be the hero of my own story, to be my own savior. And yet when I watched films and read books, girls did not do this. I had a very clear fantasy in my head, and I struggled to find it in popular media. The first movie I ever remember catching a glimpse of it in was Mulan, but even there the vision was only half met. Mulan may have been powerful and strong, but she still had to pretend to be male in order to achieve this appearance. And as I got older, it only got worse. Every movie I saw, if it featured women at all, featured them as props and objects, sidekicks and girlfriends. I did not want to be a sidekick. I wanted to be the leading character, the superhero. Which means that she never saw Lara Croft, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Titanic, Jurassic Park, Matilda, never heard of Wonder Woman. And the explanation is the same whether you're making a character gay, changing his melatonin levels, or changing his religion. We need diversity not only so that we can reflect the world as it is, but so that people and kids can actually have heroes and role models that they can relate to. And they can relate to these people because they look like them. At its heart, this idea says that people can't have heroes or role models unless those models/heroes look exactly like them. Now, I understand that people need heroes that they can relate to, and that one of the initial ways that we can relate to someone is if they look like us. We're visual creatures after all. And like Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop, a scholar of children's literature, says, quote, "Literature transforms human experience and reflects it back to us. And in that reflection, we can see our own lives and experiences as part of a larger human experience. Reading then becomes a means of self-affirmation," unquote. And we can say the same thing about movies. But that's not where it's supposed to end. Heroes are heroic because they perform good actions while following a moral code and acting virtuously, being perseverant, courageous, and self-sacrificial. In this way, they are very much our version of knights, fighting the dragons and monsters of our present time. But the thing is, the qualities of knighthood don't come about naturally. They're synthetic. For them to be implanted, nurtured, and for them to become a part of us, they have to be constantly practiced. But weirdly enough, that is exactly why their actions, their codes of morality, and their virtues are what makes them universally recognized, admired, and emulated. Our shared humanity gives us a common moral sense, something that allows us to recognize a good deed when we see one. For example, when we read about a group of Muslims who protected a group of Christians from a terrorist attack in Kenya, our common moral sense allows us to recognize the courage and self-sacrifice of those protectors. And furthermore, it makes us know that those people are heroes, regardless of their skin color, their faith, their orientation, or where they happen to be in the world. And because we also innately know that people who are genuinely good, who are virtuous, are in a sense more human than the rest of us, because we recognize that this is how we are supposed to be, never mind what we're inclined to do or what we want to do. It is these qualities that make them universally recognized and which makes us want to emulate them. And since we're all human, whether we're men, women, black, white, red, brown, gay, straight, conservative, liberal, those things that make us more human apply to all of us, and they can inspire all of us across the board. The doctor doesn't have to be a woman for a little girl to admire his cleverness and want to emulate his desire to help people no matter who they are or where they are. Wonder Woman doesn't have to be a dude in order to teach and inspire boys as to the power of truth, with the whole magic lasso and all. The idea then that we can only have heroes or role models who look like us destroys the idea of the universalism of heroism, because it says that the actions and ideas and virtues of a hero are second bananas to his melatonin levels or to the fact that he wears glasses. In this way, it pushes nominalism, the philosophical idea that universals don't exist. I could put up a bunch of pictures here of, say, a bulldog, a Labrador, a Pibble, a Shepherd, a Dachshund, a Chihuahua, and you guys would all know that the thing tying all these pictures together is that they are all dogs. Dog, or dogness here, is the universal, the metaphysical reality that makes not just these different species, but more importantly, all of these different animals the same thing. A dog. Nominalism, on the other hand, says that there is no such thing as dog or dogness. Dog was just an idea invented by men so that we could file all these different animals that kind of sort of look the same under the same umbrella term to make it easier for ourselves. This idea has some pretty serious consequences. For example, if universals don't exist, then that means that mankind does not exist, which means that we share absolutely zero commonality with everyone else on the planet. There's nothing really of substance tying any one person to the rest of the population. If universals don't exist, then words like tree, good, water, justice are just meaningless gibberish, which means that we can't communicate with each other. And if there is no universal of heroism, then that means that it is completely 100% impossible for one desert island completely cut off from everything else, i.e. a person under nominalism, to inspire another desert island who is completely cut off from everyone else. And this brings up a rather uncomfortable question. How are we going to live like this? If we have absolutely zero commonality with everyone else in the world, if I'm from Mars, you're from Venus, your mom is from Titan, your dad is from Jupiter, your crush is from Saturn, the gay man across the street is from Pluto, and the transgender man across town is from some small planet orbiting Betelgeuse, how can we actually come together and live in peace with one another? Without some sort of basic, unifying objective principles, our common humanity, the idea is that there are real things like truth and justice. How are we actually going to live in a society together? Well, by those terms, it's going to be impossible. The only way under those terms that we can actually live together is through utility, convenience, or raw power. Fortunately, however, we know that nominalism doesn't work, which means that universals, in fact, do exist. We know, for instance, for a fact, that universal truth has to exist, because if someone says there's no such thing as truth, which a genuine nominalist would pretty much have to say because truth is in itself a universal, all we would have to ask is that statement true? Because if it isn't true, that means that there has to be such a thing as universal objective truth, and if it is true, then that means that there is in fact some objective universal truth. We know that other universals must exist too, because otherwise science, which depends on universals to work and whose goal is actually discovering other universals, would be completely worthless. And seeing how far just mechanically and technologically we've advanced from the Stone Age to now, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's not true. Words like dog, person, justice, goodness aren't just gibberish. We have our very own experiences to tell us that we know what these words mean. And even the very idea that the only thing connecting discrete things is that they resemble each other in itself depends on a universal. Resemblance. And since universals exist, we can be pretty confident that heroism is another universal and that it exists too, and that as such the standards of heroism, goodness and virtue and morality are real things too, real things that we can see, recognize, be inspired from, and emulate in our real lives. This is really good news, and for deeper reasons than you might initially think. It's no secret, but we are not all united on even basic biology anymore. I mean, we can't even agree on what makes a man these days. Everything, it seems, is politicized and divided. Heroes, good old-fashioned traditional heroes, can maybe, just maybe, help bridge the gap that has come between us. You don't need to listen to Ben Shapiro to cheer Batman in defeating the Joker in The Dark Knight. You don't have to think that Barack Obama was the best president in US history to love it when Iron Man defeats the Mandarin. You don't have to be involved in politics at all to want to emulate Superman. And especially after tragedies like El Paso and Dayton, we need those bridges. We need those objective standards of goodness and virtue more than ever. I'll be 100% brutally honest with you, gang. I am not looking for someone who looks just like me to be my hero. I am looking for someone that I can look up to. I am looking for someone who can stir my heart with their bravery and with their spirit and with their commitment. Someone who makes me want to emulate them, who makes me want to reach the heights that they have reached, no matter how difficult or hard that is. And I think deep down at the end of the day, we know that that's what we all want. We don't want a mirror. We can go to the bathroom and find a mirror. We want a hero. But what say you? What heroes, whether from fiction or real life, are best suited to help bridge the gap that has grown in 21st century America? As always, let me know your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions down in the comment section below. Well, that about wraps up everything for right now, gang. As always, if you liked the video, whether you agreed with me or not, don't forget to show your support by giving it a like and sharing it on social media with your friends. And if you like videos about the culture, politics, and religion, but from a different POV, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to ring the bell for notifications, so that you will always know when I post new videos like this every Tuesday. Videos you're not going to want to miss. As always, thank you for watching, for giving me a bit of your day. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. I appreciate you all. And I will see you here next week, gang, on Top of the Stone. Ciao.